Alright guys, TechCrab here back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday so far. Today I wanted to talk about this Chino to OpTic situation, JKap moving to the bench, whether it could be a good move for this team in light, of course, with the Florida Mutineers weekends coming ahead. Welcome many new subscribers off the back of yesterday's video on the gunless benching situation. Not the topic for today, but thanks a lot for watching yesterday's video. Did really well. Today, before we get into things, just wanted to mention this draft royale we're doing once again this weekend in Florida. The last couple of weeks, if you guys have participated, the max player count has been 500. This time it's up to 1,000, so you shouldn't have any issues joining and being too late to the party here. So yeah, if you guys haven't done this before, effectively it's a pretty traditional fantasy type thing. This is the team I put together very briefly, but I may switch it up. Chino's a very cheap option right now, but yeah, I think my team's kind of good. Maybe I could do a little bit better though. And yeah, if you guys want to beat this team, do so at the link in the description box below and also in the pinned comment. Let's hop right into things then. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always. Just wanted to mention this because JKap, of course, gone to the bench now on the OpTic Gaming team, as we are going to discuss today. Yesterday we talked about this team behind that he is now scrimming with, Enable, Gunless, Zero and Saints on the squad. They did some scrimming yesterday. And as he says right here, 12-3 map counts. I think they were playing against like Machilla's team and some of the amateur guys like that, but you know, 12-3 map count for Team Pine, rewarding ourselves with a day off tomorrow. Hit me up for scrims Thursday and on. So some people were saying, okay, maybe General is just in the team for the Huntsman for a couple of days. Gunless will be back. But as it says here, hit me up for scrims Thursday and on. It seems like it's a pretty recurring thing. The Gunless is going to be scrimming with this benched team rather than in the main starting lineup for the Huntsman. I think General was scrimming with them again yesterday, but I'm not sure if that's the case going forwards. We will just have to see how things turn out. Wanted to mention this as well from Singularity Esports. Rumor has it that Emigrant Chain, and I've heard this ratified by multiple people, has been benched off the team or dropped off the team for Gizmo. Really interesting change. I'm not exactly sure what the reasoning is behind this. Some people are suggesting that, oh, has Chain been picked up by a Pro League team? Is that why he's been mysteriously dropped off the team, given that he was arguably the most talented player on this squad, or at least the one that most people were talking about on the team? So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what their reasoning is behind this, whether it's a vibe situation. I know that Chain's internet really isn't very good now he's back in the UK, but apart from that, who knows exactly what the reasoning is here. Keep your eyes out just in case there is any Pro League teams picking it up. But as Chronocelia Lintel here says, due to visa issues, it might be quite a challenge to get that thing sorted out. And, you know, Clayster said just a few days ago, Singularity, a top 8 team in the world. Surprised they haven't been poached yet. He said that on Reddit a couple of days ago, and what does it turn out? They end up making a roster change, right? Also the CDL have released an announcement about the servers for this upcoming weekend. Heading into the Florida Mutineers home series, and we make this smaller again, we have deployed additional server backups in all locations that were utilized during our last tournament. This provides more redundancy on the highest demanded server locations and the ability to test those server locations with players while other live matches are happening concurrently. Sounds like a good thing. Hopefully the servers and the viewing experience will be better this weekend again, as it has been before. But let's talk about this OpTic Gaming change. I shared this with you guys yesterday, wanted to share it again. It's pretty entertaining. MattG revealing that they have indeed made this change. It's a kind of funny video. It looks like he's stepped on a landmine and he can't move for fear that he explodes.
Hey everyone, MattG here, and I just wanted to give you a brief update on the OpTic Gaming Los Angeles Call of Duty team. Obviously our team's performance has been unacceptable and we need to get a lot better. Going to the Florida event, we're going to be playing Chino for JKap in the starting lineup. Also, we're looking at a variety of role changes within the team. It's not lost on us that we have two of the most talented main ARs in the game in Slasher and Dashy, but obviously we're in a meta that only allows for one assault rifle at the moment, so we're trying out a variety of scenarios to figure out what's best for the team. Thank you for your continued support, and hopefully we can give you guys a better showing at the Florida event. So, JKap to the bench, Chino now in the starting lineup. Interesting situation. We hear him talk in this video about Slasher and Dashy being two of the best main ARs in the game, and how that role situation works. Now, of course, the interesting part is that Chino is hardly a player that's an SMG heavy, like fast, aggressive paced player, right? Chino in the past has been the second AR on a lot of teams. Of course, when you look at this lineup, I thought it was kind of funny looking back at this team, given that how it seems like this team has been built very solidly around World War II. I imagine OpTic Gaming are expecting coming into this year. You kind of feel bad for them in a sense because you can never predict how a game is actually going to play. Probably people thought coming into World War II or coming into Modern Warfare that it would play very similarly to World War II.
And therefore, they built their team around Dashy as a potential main AR, Slasher, of course, as like 2 main ARs type of thing. If it was going to be played like World War II did, where you had an STG, a bar, 2 PPSHs. Then, of course, TJ was fantastic on that game, as were Dashy and Slasher, of course. Kenny, MVP. Chino won 2 events, the first couple of events with Kenny on the team. Then we had JKap, who was a pretty damn solid player in that game. And then Goonjar as well. So, like, this team looks like it's been built around World War II. Kind of unfortunate the way the meta works right now. But look, this team is not in an ideal state. The meta does not favour them by any means. I do think that if you are going to have one player on the main AR, it probably should be Slasher. I think that Dashy will do a better job on the SMG than Slasher would do if they were in vice versa roles. So I think that makes more sense personally. But JKap in the team, clearly, he wasn't performing. Like, if we look at some stat lines here, 0.81 over the course of the season. TJ hasn't been great. Kenny hasn't been spectacular by any means, but JKap consistently putting up 0.8s. I'm not sure you can really afford that in today's game when you have players that are just filled with talent and the worst KD you're ever getting out of them is like a 0.9 or something at an event. And if you want to be a championship contender, I don't really think you can have people on your team dropping KDs like this. Maybe you still can, but you know, we haven't seen it yet so far this season to my understanding. So in my opinion, I thought it's probably about time just to get JKap out of the team and try something else in the main squad. However, is Chino the solution, right? Because you look at this starting lineup, you see TJ, you see Kenny, Dashy, and Slasher, and you feel like, okay, if those are the core 4, which is a perfectly fine core 4, like Kenny and TJ being kind of aggressive players, and then Dashy and Slasher sitting a little bit further back, you would expect to have the 5th player being another hyper-aggressive SMG, especially in the meta right now. We heard rumours earlier this season that Pharaoh was potentially being targeted by OpTic Gaming. Ends up not happening. He goes to Florida Mutineers. And if he was an opportunity for this team, like that could really have been a solution for this squad, as it seems to have been a solution to Florida Mutineers. So maybe they're ruining that to some degree, or OpTic Gaming with that opportunity no longer on the cards, right? Given that it's so difficult to get players out of contracts and make all the other possible changes. So bringing Chino in for JKap is an interesting change. I think in terms of the player coming out, it makes sense to me. I'm quite happy to, I'm a big JKap fan. But I'm pretty happy to support this move and say that, look, probably about time that we see what the team performs like with JKap out the squad. A lot of people are talking about the Friendship League and everything. The fact that JKap wasn't out the team before this, was MattG involved and all of the Oak Boys and that kind of stuff. But Chino bringing in as his replacement, there's not much you can do right now given that this team is very AR focused. You've got Dashy, Slasher, Chino, JKap and Goonjar all on this squad. Goon and Chino have typically been ARs through their career. JKap has kind of always preferred an AR role, so I wouldn't be surprised if Chino could do a better job than JKap in a more aggressive SMG role. I'm pretty comfortable to support that idea. However, is this a long-term solution that's going to make them a championship contender? I don't really think so, right? And JKap is known to bring pretty good vibes to a squad. Then again, Chino has some experience playing with Kenny in the past, so maybe there's no plus minus in that sense. And maybe Chino does bring a little bit extra in terms of slaying power. But is this going to be an absolute mind-blowing change that's going to blow these guys to the top of the standings? I don't really think so. You need someone who's going to play in a very different style, a very different role, you could argue. If you look at Mac right on the New York subliners, Zero's in the team, playing pretty well, but maybe playing slightly too slow, and they had chemistry issues. They bring in Happy, that doesn't work out. Then they swap out for Mac, and that seems to have really improved them. Mac playing super aggressive seems to have helped the team dynamics and the chemistry on the whole. But is Chino really going to play at a different pace to JKap? Is he really going to bring a different style to the team? It's doubtful, but he might put up a 0.9 or 0.95 rather than a 0.8, right? And that might send them over the boundary from being a top 12 team to being a top 8, top 6 team, maybe. But I don't think it's going to be an absolute game changer for the squad. So I'm intrigued to hear if you guys agree or disagree with this one. A lot of people talking about, Enable, Pristini, these type of players. Maybe even some of the Singularity guys could come into this team and improve it. That's an option. But with visa issues and the current pandemic situation that we're in right now, making things very challenging. And also on top of that, player contracts are very difficult to get out of. And a lot of teams don't want to give up their prized players that they can potentially sell for a lot of money or bring back into the team next season when it could be a better game for their playstyle, right? So look, I'm kind of happy to support this change on the whole. I think it's probably the best change they could make in the circumstances right now. But do I think it's going to be an absolute game changer? No, I do not. But maybe you guys disagree in the comment section below. This is, of course, their record so far this season. The only wins they had were against the Gorillas, and they won one really impressive series against the Minnesota Rocket on LAN of the Los Angeles home series. But apart from that, they really haven't done much, especially in the online league. We talked about how it almost feels like by some of their tweets that their mental game isn't too strong. They're kind of given up, like, when's the next Black Ops game? Slasher tweeted in one of them, which does make me think that this team probably isn't the best state right now. And maybe Chino coming in could revive the squad to some degree. And as JKap said when he did initially tweet this, Team Pine is trying to get our reps in and will be going hard. Almost says to me that, look, maybe JKap didn't expect to be dropped, maybe he did, but regardless of what the situation is from his perspective, seems like it's kind of lit a fire underneath him to say, look, I need to go ahead and prove myself here because I obviously wasn't performing to the standard the team expected of me. Maybe he didn't expect to get dropped off the team given his connections with the rest of the guys in the squad and Mardog and all of that, but it has happened, and maybe JKap now thinks, look, I need to get my head down and prove that I can still compete at a top level, because we've seen other players of JKap's stature that have been around for many years, the likes of Aches now out the starting lineup, and it doesn't really look like he's going to be coming back anytime soon. So JKap clearly needs to, start getting on the grind, right? And maybe that's part of the thought process here with making this change to say that, look, JKap will probably go away and work heavily on his game right now to get an opportunity back in a starting lineup, as Enable has done before on the Seattle Surge. So yeah, intrigued to hear your thoughts down below. This weekend they have a pretty reasonable group. I think their first game is up against the Royal Ravens. They have got FaZe in their group though, and their Paris Legion as well. So there's a possibility they get out of it in second place. I imagine FaZe gets out first, but of course I'll talk about my predictions in the coming days here. But yeah, not ideal. I don't think this is an overwhelmingly positive change, but it could send the team in the right direction at the very least, if they are thinking of making a more permanent replacement to Chino, as potentially they are with General coming into the Huntsman. It seems kind of similar in that sense. Before we finish, just wanted to talk about this tweet from Clayster, because yesterday we had this discussion around the Gunler situation, not being told that he was benched off the squad, and Clayster comes out and says, every single time I've been dropped, traded, benched, I wasn't told by anyone until I heard from a third party. Call OpTic in the E United, except for the FaZe to EU trade. That was, not the ideal situation in and of itself. Now I think of it, that was probably the most even trade in CoD history. I feel like there needs to be more transparency to players' teams who are on the chopping block, but that requires maturity from both ends, which lacks heavily in the scene right now. A player shouldn't be blindsided by other players or on Intel Twitter. No offense, Crone. 100%. A person on the chopping block needs to at least be told what he's doing wrong, what his teammates don't like about him, so it gives him an opportunity to change, fix it. After I almost got dropped off E United, I completely changed as a player team, and it helped me grow a lot. We heard about that situation last year, right? Of course, that E United team last season, supposedly JKap trying to get Clayster dropped. Eventually, they did end up bringing Simp back instead. But yeah, clearly, apparently, the team at the time wanted Clayster out the squad. He then says, oh, I improved off the back of that and became a world champion and is continuing the run of form into this game, right? So then follows up, if the problem isn't skill, then I agree, because I'm mixed whether you tell someone who is underperforming, which they probably already know, that their spot is in jeopardy, as it could negatively affect them even more. But then there needs to be just open communication. So interesting back and forth here, and as Bryce then chimes in with, isn't this what coaches and management are for, not for players to tell other players that they're being dropped, etc, etc. But yeah, I don't think the scene is in the greatest place for this before. Back in the day, before we came into this whole franchising thing where it gets all kind of serious, players would just drop people behind their backs and do all sorts of stuff, which can't really happen nowadays, but apparently it still can. But you would imagine it wouldn't. It'd be nice if there was more open dialogue. And yeah, the coaches, I suppose, are the ones who have to be responsible here. And there is a video topic I want to discuss in a few days about the coaches and how much responsibility can you put on them for results of teams. But also, of course, making decisions and changes like this could also be on their back. So I thought this was an interesting discussion at the very least. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always. Thanks for watching, stay safe, I'll see you next time.